What's going on, guys? Today we are making a recipe I've never heard of, but we got a message on Instagram. Someone was like, hey, it's my son's birthday, it's coming up soon. I need a keto recipe for something called an Gooey butter cake. Have you guys heard of this? Did some digging. It turns out the first ingredient is 4 cups of powdered sugar. So it's gonna be tough to make a keto, but I made it happen. Greatly reduced the sweetener, so it's not gonna be as sweet, but it's gonna be a lot healthier. We didn't cut down on the butter, we just cut down on the sweetener. We're making an Gooey butter cake. It's 2 layers. We're gonna get started on the first layer. So you got a bottom layer that is like a cake crust. It's more cake than it is crust. And then you got a top layer that's kind of like gooey, cheesecakey, buttery, and good. So we're gonna start on the bottom layer. This one is more of a denser cake. Okay, let's get the dry ingredients going. We are going to start with a base of coconut flour. Just under a 1/4 cup, about 3 tablespoons worth of coconut flour. We're gonna want 1/4 cup of erythritol. We're gonna use powdered erythritol. That'll make it a little bit better. 1 teaspoon of baking powder. I'm just gonna eyeball this. Baking powder is not something you should eyeball. And then this ingredient is optional. It's beef gelatin. You can also use just traditional pork gelatin that you find in the grocery store. What I like about it is it makes the cake a little bit gooier, I would say. More like, just like a hint of, this guy's chowing down over here.
No, does he?
Oh my gosh. Are you panic eating because we're filming videos? You good? Okay, here we go. So the tablespoon of gelatin, what it does is it makes it a little bit gooier. It helps the batter come together better. Now he's drinking water. This guy.
You're the worst.
It's definitely optional, but it's gonna add to the final recipe just like a tad bit. It makes it a little bit better. Now in the mixing bowl here, we are going to use 1 stick of butter, and you want this to be room temperature. So I like to start by just kind of creaming the butter a little bit. Now we're gonna add a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then 2 eggs, room temperature also. The reason you want everything to be at room temperature is it just all mixes together a lot better, as opposed to if you have like the butter at room temperature, then you add cold eggs, it kind of like clumps up the mixture. Perfect, now just mix that. It doesn't really come together that well, but we're gonna add the dry ingredients. If you're a little bit unsure about the brand of coconut flour you have, right now we're using this, we get on Amazon, it's Anthony's brand. Maybe keep the coconut flour out separately and then add it in slowly until you get the consistency of the batter that you're looking for, because the coconut flour will vary brand to brand. I've already tested this recipe though, so we're just gonna add all this in. Now over the next couple minutes, this is really gonna come together because of the gelatin. I like to use a spatula just to kind of mash everything together, make sure it's all mixed. You didn't even try this recipe. You could have tried it. You tried it?
I ate like a big slice. So I took a little nibble, and I was like, oh my god, this is heavenly. So I ate all the crust along the edges. So I was like, so, you know, that basically doesn't count. And then I just cut a big slice.
I cut a little sliver off yesterday too. Okay, we're gonna set that aside. And it's really thick. You're gonna have to press this out into the pan. Now we're gonna make the top layer, which is more cheesecake gooiness, not as much of like a cake crust. It's pretty similar to a cheesecake. In this pan, we're going with another stick of butter. You got 2 sticks total. That's why it's called a butter cake. We have 1 package of cream cheese, room temperature, and we have the oven preheating to 350 right now. I'm just gonna mix the cream cheese and the butter together first. I should have used the bigger bowl for this. This is gonna be disastrous. Okay. Now to this, we're gonna add another 1/4 cup of erythritol. Now, when I'm making desserts like this, a lot of the recipes I'll see online that are for keto desserts, they'll just go nuts with the erythritol, like a 1.5 cups, just like crazy nutso numbers. I like to be conscious of how much erythritol I use in the desserts, so we're doing a 1/4 cup in the topping, a 1/4 cup in the crust, and then we're gonna supplement with stevia to get more sweetness, but without as much of like the digestive issues that come with erythritol. I like to limit the erythritol as much as possible. So we're gonna do a 1/4 cup in this, another 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, and then 50 drops of stevia. Just kind of eyeball it. And then 2 eggs. Here we go, big money, no whammy. So use bigger bowls or use one of our Keto Connect aprons. It's everywhere, oh my gosh. So now you can see we got our two mixtures here, totally different consistencies. Okay guys, we're gonna use this 8-inch springform pan here. Last time we made it in like a 12-inch springform pan, so you can bake it in any kind of round you want. Just the thicker the cake, the longer it'll take to cook is my assumption. Let's do this. I'm simply going to spray the pan. So here we go, let's get the crust in. Probably gonna wanna get in there with your hands. Okay, so you got the base there. Now we're gonna add in the topping, the cheesecake part. Could be a little bit smoother. If yours is a little clumpy like this, that's basically just because everything was not fully at room temperature and or you were using too small of a bowl. Tap it out a little bit. Okay, we're gonna pop this in. I'm gonna check on this at 35 minutes, see how it's looking. You'll notice the edges will start to brown a little bit. That's when you wanna take it out. And a lot of people like to undercook this recipe to make it just more ooey and gooey. Honestly, like anytime you wanna take it out, it's probably gonna be fine. We're gonna put it in for 35 minutes though. And we are back, guys, and this is one of the best desserts we've made. As far as like the overall taste goes, combined with the fact that it's like not that bad macro-wise. It's actually just like mostly fat, not a lot of protein, not a lot of carbs. See how gooey that is? Mm-hmm. So we already sliced into this. We took some pictures, but man, it came out better this time than it did last time. If you put this in the fridge, it will harden kind of like a cheesecake would. I think it's best served maybe like 2 hours after you bake it, just allowing it to cool to room temperature. You can see the crust down there is about like a ½ an inch thick and it's really cake-like. And then here's the slice. My favorite way to top this is just with some whipped heavy whipping cream, homemade whipped cream. No sweetener added whatsoever. I'm gonna give this a try. Eat off the cake?
Yeah.
Okay. How it is. Wow, melts in your mouth. Delicious, kind of like a custard, kind of like a cheesecake custard combo, but then you get the cake on the bottom, which is kind of nice. There's no like hard crust at all. It's actually really good. Just kind of like biting through air that tastes really sweet and delicious. Sweetness level 100% on point. I think most of you will be happy with this. The telltale sign that it's done is the brownness around the edges. That is perfect. Inside you can see it's still kind of moist, almost slightly undercooked, but really delicious. So guys, give this a try. She said this and the chocolate tart are her two favorite desserts, so I'll link the chocolate tart below too. Give it a try. Let me know how it compares to Paula Deen's original recipe, 4 cups of powdered sugar.